Greetings from Chicagoland. Thank you, Dr. Rogers, for such a wonderful introduction and for having me as a guest on this awesome event. This is a great opportunity for those who are present, and I am excited to be here for this session. I would have loved to be live with you, but circumstances prevail. I am over the moon to be able to share marketing insights with you, which I know will help your business. Allow me to share my screen. My presentation today is marketing strategies for brand brilliance. We all are looking for clients. We all are entrepreneurs. And without clients, our business doesn't exist. I want to ask you a few questions. As entrepreneurs, how many of you have actually wondered, where is my ideal client? You've heard the gurus talk about ideal clients, and you need to go where your ideal client is. We've heard the gurus talk about ideal clients. They've talked about, hey, you need to go find them, you need to know everything about them. But as entrepreneurs, how many of you, with a raise your hand or put it in the chat and tell me, how many of you have actually wondered where my ideal client is? What about this question? Where is my ideal client? Who exactly is my ideal client? Where does my ideal client hang out? Here's a few more questions. How many of you market to the right audience? How many of you are trying to figure out who the right audience is? What is your marketing strategy? How do you market? How do you build up your SEO? Some of you may or may not know what SEO is. How many of you use Facebook ads? Some of you may have heard of it, but have never used it. If you're one of them, put it in the chat. I started my podcast, Munira's Musings, 8 years ago. I reached out to entrepreneurs on Facebook and asked them to be a guest on my podcast. They were honored. And the first year, I interviewed 40 people. Each of these 40 people shared their stories. They gave advice. They shared their failures. They talked about their journey to their niche. Some of them were funny, so we laughed. And some of them were sad, so we cried. Yes, we literally cried on the show. Some were authors, so they shared their books. And some shared their pain. But each one had a story. The second year of my podcast, I checked up on people who I had interviewed the year before, and I was able to reconnect with 27 of the 40 people. And they all had a spring to their step. They were happier and something was off. So I connected with them and I talked to them. Marie had come on my podcast, and after our interview was over, she had told me in confidence that she was actually struggling. A year later, when I'm talking to her, she told me that her business had blown out of the water. Joe wanted his story to be told. He had died, and he had come back with a purpose, and his business took a turn for the better. He was sharing his story everywhere, and people were seeking him out, wanting to hear his story. Audrey was grieving. She shared her story of how she got through the death of her loved one on my podcast. People were seeking her out to talk to her how she could help the others follow suit and get over grief. Of the 27 people that I spoke to, 13 had found that being on my podcast had changed the way they did business, because now they had a different way to spotlight their business. They had found a way to share stories on a podcast. Podcast strategy increases brand awareness. There are 4.25 million documented podcasts in 400 languages in the world. And this number is growing every day. There could be more, but I said documented. South Korea is a country devouring information of a podcast and is the one country that has the highest number of listeners today. And in all of the noise out there, well, somebody out there has captured your ideal audience. Let me ask you a question. Do you listen to a podcast? Why? What inspires you about a particular segment? How do you find your podcasts to listen to? How do you find the person who is talking? Do you go after the host or the guest? Do you go after a topic or facts? Is it science fiction or facts? There's podcasts for everything, right? Are you considered an ideal audience? Are your wheels turning? Well, now turn that around. You have a message, don't you? What about your messaging? Why aren't you out there talking to people and sharing your message? Does your message have enough flavor to change somebody else's life? Can it impact a few people? Do you think for a moment that there is somebody out there who needs to hear your message or wants to hear your message? Is there someone out there who is ready to follow you and reach out to you? Let me tell you something, my friend. If they don't buy from you, they'll buy from somebody else. So why are you making it so difficult for your ideal audience to reach out to you? Now is the time to get heard, my friend. Now is the time to be visible. And gaining visibility to new audiences and speaking on podcasts where hundreds or thousands of people can hear you is a new strategy that your business needs. People want to hear your message. People want to hear your strategy. And visibility in this day and age is more important. And becoming visible is magical. Do you see that the one way to be visible is to be a podcast guest? There is magic that happens when you've heard somebody speak for over 30 to 45 minutes. I know you know this because you've heard other people talk. What's stopping you, my friend? When audiences hear you give value, they want to learn from you. Podcasting is an amazing strategy if your goal is to generate warmer, qualified leads. Are you an author who wants to promote a book? Do you have a story that needs to be heard? Are you knowledgeable about how your business can help somebody? Who here wants to share information? Who here is bubbling up and thinking, oh my God, this is what I needed to hear today? We talked about SEO a few slides back. SEO is search engine optimization. And if you don't know anything about it, it's when you Google search, it's the first few websites that come up on the first page. But to get visibility like that, you want to make sure that your SEO is up. People pay a lot of money for this. But let me tell you something. If you go on a podcast and you share your information, like I'm doing right now, go to the nichenavigator.com and contact me. Use the contact me form to contact me. People are going to do that. And then what happens if you talk to 100 people and 50 people go into your website, your SEO is automatically coming up. Make sense? And this helps your digital footprint and your marketing and your visibility to be out there in the spotlight. Now you know that gaining visibility is the easy part. But you're going to ask me this question: where do I find the podcasts that are good for me? How do I know which podcast that I should be a guest on? How do I find the contact information of the podcast host? How do I find their email address? This is where I come in. In order to find the right client, you have to find the right podcast. Specificity equals clarity on your message, and in turn gets you to your target audience. Getting interviews on the right topics is your recipe for success with podcast guesting. Preparation is part of the process. You need to know your goals. What is your end goal after you get on a podcast? You need to have clarity there. What exactly is your message? What topics can you speak on? Your topics should communicate who you are and should resonate with the host and the audience. There are a lot of people who do what you do. There's a lot of people who speak about the same topics or similar topics as what you want to speak about. But why should the host pick you? And what makes you unique? And it should help when you communicate effectively so that you can stand out as a unique individual, as a unique entrepreneur to your audience. So what am I asking? I'm asking you to accept my invite to book a meeting with me and talk to me. I'm asking you to book 30 minutes of your time to come and see if I am a good fit to help you get on the podcast, because I know you have been struggling with your SEO and your marketing needs, and I can help you with all of this. We have to sit down and talk and figure out who we are. I haven't met you yet, but I would love to. And if this has been an eye-opening presentation, I would love to meet with you. Please accept my invite. This QR code is going to take you straight to my calendar link. 30 minutes for free. Let's talk, my friend. And I think we can start a beautiful relationship here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Rogers, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.